Did you know that every year, over 10 million people in the United States alone are interrogated by the police? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Welcome to the covert world of police interrogations. It's a realm where every word, every gesture, every silence holds meaning. A world where psychology plays a pivotal role. It's no secret that the police use various strategies during questioning, but what may surprise you is how deeply psychology is woven into these strategies. Imagine the interrogation room not as a mere space of questioning, but as a psychological battlefield. It's a place where two minds engage in a delicate dance of influence and resistance. Here, the interrogator's most potent weapons are not threats or force, but the subtle tools of persuasion and manipulation. But why is psychology so crucial in police interrogations? Well, the answer lies in the human mind itself. Our thoughts, our perceptions, our memories are all susceptible to influence. By understanding how the mind works, interrogators can guide suspects towards revealing the truth, or at least their version of it. The interrogation room is a stage. The police officer is the director, setting the scene, controlling the narrative, and the suspect, a reluctant actor, caught in a plot they didn't script. It's a play where the endgame is confession, and the means to reach it, a fascinating blend of psychological tricks. Perhaps you're thinking this sounds like a high-stakes poker game, and you wouldn't be wrong. It's a game of bluff and counter-bluff, tells and misdirection. But unlike poker, the stakes here are not just chips on a table. They're the truth and justice that hang in the balance. So, are you ready to delve into this intriguing world? Are you prepared to learn the secrets that make police interrogations a high-wire act of psychological strategy? If so, buckle up, because what follows is a countdown of the top 10 psychology tricks used in police interrogations. Stay with me as we unravel the top 10 psychology tricks used in police interviews. Starting with number 10, we have the power of silence. A quiet room can be unnerving, can't it? Especially when you're sitting across from a stern-faced officer, eager for you to spill your secrets. This is exactly the discomfort that interrogators capitalize on. Silence is their unsung ally, a tool wielded with precision to create unease and tension. Imagine you're being questioned. The officer asks a probing query, then silence. The room grows quiet. The seconds stretch into what feels like minutes. The quiet gnaws at you, fills you with a compulsion to fill the void with words, any words. And often those words become the very information the interrogator is seeking. It's a psychological game of chicken. Who will break the silence first? Often it's the person on the hot seat, eager to break the tension, even if it means revealing more than intended. Silence, it seems, speaks louder than words in an interrogation room. At number 9, we find the subtle art of mirroring body language. This is not just about mimicking physical gestures. It's about creating a silent link, a sense of camaraderie between the officer and the person being interviewed. The uncanny thing about mirroring is that it happens subconsciously. We naturally tend to mirror the body language of people we like or want to get along with. Now imagine this tactic in the hands of a trained professional. They can use it to establish rapport, build trust, and make the person feel more comfortable. Moreover, if the person being interviewed notices the mirroring, it can even lead them to believe that the officer understands them. This, in turn, can make them more willing to open up. It's a quiet dance of non-verbal cues aimed at making the truth come out. Next time, pay attention to the body language. It might be telling its own story. Coming in at number 8, we have the classic good cop, bad cop routine. A timeless psychological trick, it's the perfect blend of drama and mind games. The strategy is simple but effective. One officer takes on the role of the bad cop, coming off as stern, uncompromising, and even intimidating. This stirs up fear and discomfort, making the interviewee yearn for an ally in the room. Enter the good cop. This officer presents as sympathetic, understanding, and willing to help. They offer the interviewee a safe harbor amid the storm, making them more likely to open up and share vital information. It's a clever exploitation of human nature, playing on our instinct to seek protection and warmth in the face of hostility. But don't be fooled. The good cop, bad cop routine isn't about genuine empathy. It's a calculated strategy designed to break through defenses and extract information. Remember, it's all a game of manipulation. Number 7 brings us to a controversial method known as the Reed technique. Originating in the mid-20th century, this method was developed by a former Chicago police officer John E. Reed. It's a psychological approach designed to pressure the interviewee into confessing. The Reed technique is a three-phase process. It begins with a behavioral analysis interview, where investigators evaluate the suspect's truthfulness through their body language and psychological responses. This is followed by the theme development phase, where the investigator creates a moral or psychological justification for the crime, reducing the suspect's fear of admitting guilt. Finally, in the alternative question phase, the investigator presents two explanations for the crime, both implicating the suspect, but one more socially acceptable than the other. The Reed technique has been criticized for its potential to elicit false confessions, especially from vulnerable individuals. Despite this, it remains widely used in law enforcement due to its effectiveness. The Reed technique, a powerful tool or a dangerous game? You decide. Sliding into number 6, we have the power of suggestion. Now, this is a truly fascinating technique. It's all about how police officers use seemingly innocent questions to guide, or rather suggest, the direction of an interviewee's responses. This technique is subtle, yet incredibly potent. Think of it this way. If an officer asks, "You were at the bar last night, weren't you?" It's not just a question. It's a carefully placed suggestion that's designed to elicit a specific response. It's a way of planting a seed in the interviewee's mind, leading them to believe they have already revealed this information, thus encouraging them to confirm it. The power of suggestion can be a game changer in an investigation. It's a psychological chess game, where the detective is always thinking several moves ahead. It's a way of gently steering the conversation, nudging it towards the desired outcome. A subtle suggestion can change the entire course of an investigation. At number 5, we find the peak end rule. This fascinating principle of psychology suggests that people judge an experience largely based on how they felt at its peak and at its end, rather than the total sum or average of every moment of the experience. The police use this rule to their advantage during interviews. By controlling the high points and the conclusion of the interaction, they can shape the interviewee's recollection of events. For instance, an officer might intentionally create a stress peak during the questioning phase, then follow it up with a more relaxed or even positive ending. The interviewee is likely to remember this peak and the end, and less so the details in between. This manipulation of memory can influence how the person recalls and interprets the events discussed during the interview. So, next time you find yourself in an intense conversation, remember how the peak-end rule might be at play. Memory, it seems, is a tricky thing. Number 4 brings us to the framing effect. Now, this is a real mind-bender. The framing effect is a cognitive bias where people decide on options based on if the options are presented as losses or gains. In a police interview, officers can employ this tactic to alter the way you perceive a situation. For instance, an officer might say, "If you cooperate, you could reduce your sentence by 2 years." Here, the scenario is framed as a gain, but if it's framed differently, like, "If you don't cooperate, you could add 2 years to your sentence," the same situation now appears as a potential loss. Even though the underlying reality is the same, the framing changes your perception and could influence your decision. The framing effect is powerful because it plays on our natural tendency to avoid losses rather than acquiring equivalent gains. So, remember, in any situation, it's not just about what's said, but how it's said. It's all about how you frame it. Coming in at number 3, we have the foot in the door technique. This intriguing psychological maneuver is all about securing small agreements to pave the way for larger concessions. Here's how it works. The interviewer starts by asking a seemingly innocuous question, something that the interviewee would find hard to disagree with. This could be as simple as confirming their name or acknowledging the current date. Once this small agreement is secured, the interviewer subtly ups the ante, posing slightly more significant queries while maintaining an atmosphere of cooperation and understanding. The trick lies in the psychological principle of consistency. Once we've agreed to a minor request, we're more likely to continue saying yes, especially when the atmosphere remains non-confrontational and the questions appear logical and progressive. So the next time you find yourself nodding along, beware. You might just be experiencing the foot in the door technique in action. Remember, in the world of police interviewing, a small yes can lead to a big confession. At number 2, we find the illusion of control. This clever psychological tactic is all about making the interviewee feel like they're in the driver's seat. But here's the twist: they're not. The illusion of control is a masterful game of manipulation, designed to make the person being questioned more cooperative. Police create this illusion by giving the interviewee choices that, in reality, all lead to the same outcome. It's like choosing between a rock and a hard place. Both options lead to the same result. By doing so, they make the person feel like they are participating willingly, like they are in control of the situation. This technique is a subtle dance between the interrogator and the interviewee, a dance where the interrogator always leads. It's a powerful tool in the arsenal of psychological tricks used in police interviews. So remember, in the interrogation room, control is just another illusion. And finally, the most surprising psychology trick used in police interviews is the false evidence ploy. This is an intriguing tactic where investigators present fabricated evidence to the interviewee. It's a head-spinning move designed to shake the interviewee's confidence in their own version of events. Picture this: an officer slides a folder across the table claiming it contains damning evidence against you. The folder is empty, but the idea of what it might contain is enough to sway your perception. Suddenly, the truth you held so firmly starts to wobble. The false evidence ploy is not about the evidence itself, it's about sowing seeds of doubt. Used wisely, it can lead to voluntary confessions, but it's a double-edged sword. When misused, it can lead to false confessions, especially under high-pressure situations. It's a fascinating dance between perception and reality, a reminder that our understanding of the truth can be easily manipulated. The truth, it seems, isn't always what it appears to be.